We are scalar energy beings. We receive energy information from God for our mind and our heart. So the way we think, the way we feel can be controlled, regulated. We have to be in alignment. We have to do God's will, so to speak.
Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life. We want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around.
In this episode, we delve into the fascinating world of scalar energy with guest Tom. Scalar energy is the energy of the sun and stars, offering immense potential for free and clean energy. Tom shares insights into the history of scalar energy, its connection to Nikola Tesla's work, and its potential applications in solving the global energy crisis. Discover how scalar energy can revolutionize our energy sources and what steps are being taken to make it accessible. Tune in to explore the possibilities of a world powered by scalar energy.
Tom, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for the invitation.
Dude, I'm so excited to talk to you. You're on the preface of some really remarkable technology based on our calls in the past and in the green room talk. There's so many things that people don't want you to know because they don't make a buck out of it, but you're basically giving away this technology or talking about this technology which can solve world's largest problems. So Tom, let's take a walk down memory lane and rediscover the origin story. Like, how did you get to understand and start dedicating your life to the technology that you're working with?
Scalar energy. We're going to speak about scalar light. I research with scalar energy. What is that? It's the energy of the sun and the stars. It's the natural energy of the universe. Now, why is that important? Why would I spend a career studying, chasing scalar energy as this new science, this new branch of physics? It offers incredible potential. It's free energy from the sun and the stars. Now, if we go back over 100 years ago, Tesla was working with scalar energy. He called it radiant energy. And Tesla tried he was rather assiduous. He wanted to introduce free energy to the world, but we didn't listen and we weren't ready. Now, consider what I'm saying. Scalar energy is free energy from the stars. That will solve so many problems. In application, if we can take this free energy from the stars, we'll be able to provide energy for our homes, our factories, our schools.
Tom, let me ask you a quick question. So you're saying this is the energy of the stars. Then how do you differentiate, or what is the difference between scalar energy and solar energy? Because the sun is literally the star closest to us.
Yeah, you're right. I look at all energy as scalar energy and the center of the sun and the stars. That is, scalar energy is the initial energy of the sun and the stars. It will break down, it will converge into electromagnetic energy in this world. And this world is really a combination of both scalar energy and electromagnetic energy. So what's the point? The solar panels that we're using on our home, our electrical appliances in our home are all governed by electricity. It's not the free energy that I envision, which really will do away with so many obstacles that we encounter with electromagnetic energy. So what's the point? I advocate that we start moving away from electrical energy to scalar energy. It's much simpler, it's inexpensive, it's clean, and it will solve our energy crisis. We will finally have unlimited energy.
I love that. I'm very intrigued, right? This is a very bold statement, right? But my question goes back to, like, how did you discover it and decided to say, hey, this is what I want to spend my career in? So you mentioned that Tesla had been working on this energy, but he wasn't able to get it to the point where it would be publicly usable.
Yeah. If you remember, Tesla had a tower in Long Island. He called it Wardenclyffe Tower. That tower was a freestanding tower surmounted by a copper dome.
Mhm.
There was no moving parts. And if you look closely at this copper dome, it would absorb, it would attract scalar energy from the sun and the stars. That was a receptacle. That was, if you will, a receiver of scalar energy, the free energy of the stars. And Tesla demonstrated that he could take that free energy, it's not electricity, and he could use it in an application. It was kinetic energy, and it had the ability to perform a function such as illuminate a light bulb, etc. Tesla wanted to use that tower, Wardenclyffe Tower, to power and to show that it is indeed a viable model. He succeeded.
Yeah.
But why haven't we heard about that? The powers that be don't want a free energy tower in Long Island, New York. That's why.
So did they bring that tower down?
Yes, they, under the pretense that it would be a target during the war, during the First World War, etc. Yeah, there was always an excuse to in some way undermine Tesla's work.
Absolutely. So tell me about Tom. I want to know about Tom. Tom, how did you discover scalar energy? Was it in school? Was it in books? Tell me a little bit about you.
It's God. The Holy Spirit gave me this wisdom. Now, at a young age, I was reading Tesla. Tesla was the pioneer, so we have to give him his credit. And I studied Tesla's work, especially later in his life. And then I started to realize that he had armatures early in his life. He had some type of movement, some type of kinetic movement. But later in his life, there was no armature. There was no rotator. There wasn't any motion whatsoever to his instruments. So how is it that he goes from an induction motor, some type of movement, to a new type of paradigm with no motion? So in other words, where's the kinetic energy coming from? The stars. So the new induction motor, so to speak, are the stars. God bless the man for advancing to that point. Now, this instrument behind me is a scalar energy instrument, and it's motionless. There are no moving parts.
Yeah.
Now, I could demonstrate to your audience, if this is a miniature star, it should be able to illuminate a light bulb. And if I place this light bulb close to the instrument, I receive energy from my star. This is a miniature star. So again, what are we demonstrating? Free energy. These free energy instruments have the ability to provide energy to perform a work function. I can illuminate a light bulb in my hand.
That's insane.
Yep. This is where we're going. Free energy.
No, this is so powerful. This is mind blowing. Let's take a look at some of the practical ways that you can market scalar energy, because obviously the powers that be don't want this electricity, this scalar energy, because they're not making any money off of it.
That's correct. You're absolutely right. Okay, so I have to prove this to people, and over the next 2-3 years, I'm determined to prove it by way of quantum healing, quantum health. Let me explain what I mean. I don't work with people. I work with photographs. I'll use my photograph as an example. My photograph has energy, scalar energy. There is a signature on that photograph, a quantum signature. I don't work with people. I work with their photograph, which is their bilocated version or their quantum version. And I actually take a person's photograph and I place it inside the scalar energy instrument.
So now, basically inside its circle of influence.
Yes, under the influence of scalar energy. So right now, I would say, since my photograph is inside that instrument, I am enjoying a chakra bouncing. Now, what do I mean by that? The energy is so strong, it can download energy into my chakras, into my brainwaves. So if this instrument is so strong that it can illuminate a light bulb, it's also illuminating my brainwaves right now, my chakras as we speak. It's as if I was right next to this light bulb, because my photograph is me. I am the photograph is me. So a photograph is a bilocated version of a person. Now, I've been proving this is successful with many people who will email us a photograph. This is quantum healing through the non-physical plane, through the information plane afforded by a photograph. It's not biological. It's not chemical, it's quantum.
So you've been proving this, and this is, we can, folks, if you're looking at the video, check it out. It's amazing how Tom here is able to light up a simple light bulb by simply bringing it closer to the scalar energy tower. And it's just mind blowing. Like, I'm trying to understand, I'm trying to ask the question that's going to help me and the audience understand, okay, what's really happening. So we've talked a little bit about that. It's the energy of the stars, it's the kinetic energy being stored by the tower, but then it's also what's actually happening.
It fills my laboratory. It fills my laboratory. Now, sometimes this energy is so strong, if I have my cell phone close to the instrument, it will override the signal, the microwave signal on my cell phone, meaning what? It fills an atmosphere. What's the point? That's, you either have scalar energy or you have electrical energy. The two cannot coincide side by side. You'll either have a predominant electromagnetic field or a predominant scalar energy field. Close to that Tesla coil, it is a scalar energy force field. It's so powerful that can pass through a wooden board. To demonstrate to your audience, I'm holding a board in my hand. And I place this board next to the instrument. I place the light bulb next to the board and it illuminates. So even a wooden board cannot stop scalar energy. The energy of the sun and the stars will penetrate any material surface. This is non-physical communication. So I have now demonstrated how scalar energy is the life force of the universe, that nothing can impede it,
right?
That this energy, free energy, cannot be stopped. It's not only unlimited energy, but no material surface can stop the propagation of this energy, so to speak. Where are we going with this? You don't need an infrastructure. Again, I'm holding in my hand a light bulb. It illuminates. Okay, there's no satellites in my laboratory. I don't have any wires.
Now, because of the size of that device, you have to be certain degrees closer to it as opposed to be further away.
Correct. Once I can amplify that 1,000-fold, I should be able to illuminate a light bulb halfway across the country. So this is the beginning model. If this is 1x, eventually I'll have this energy will be 10,000x or 100,000x. Once I amplify this, I will be using quartz crystal to amplify the signal. Once I do that, I'll be able to illuminate a city with that instrument. Now that is inexpensive, clean energy without an expensive infrastructure, all through the instrumentation of the scalar realm, scalar dimension, not the electromagnetic dimension.
But it also presents a singular point of, like, there's no redundancy, right? So let's say somebody does attack that tower that's powering an entire city. Would that not cause a citywide outage? Let's say a city employs scalar energy and says, hey, we're going to be using this clean energy. And does that not become a single point of failure? For example, if it were to fall or be attacked, would it not shut down the entire city?
You're right. You're right. It would be, because then you're depending upon one instrument. So how do you overcome that? Well, you have a number of instruments. It's that.
So you would have to basically set up multiple points. Now, how does the work with scalar energy intersect with sustainability and renewable energy solutions?
Okay, sustainable. What do we mean by sustainable? That we can continue on with some economic model, and that it's efficient, it's cost efficient, and it won't pollute excessively. That's what scalar energy is. How efficient? It's as efficient as the stars. Do you know any other motor that's more efficient than a star? I don't. As a source of power, the stars are perfect.
Yes, they do have a long life, but if they were to run out of that life, for example, it is said in probably 4 billion years, the sun is going to implode because it's run out of the fuel that's fueling its energy core.
Yeah, thank you. So if that's the case, then we have 4 billion years, but I have a different theory in that regard. If we don't have sunlight or starlight, the universe will be utter chaos. So
Exactly. They'll be dead.
What's the point here? That's a good point, though. I like that. I want to replace the electromagnetic grid. So did Tesla. Now, Tesla started with AC electricity, and he was brilliant. He gave us AC electricity. But later in his life, he did not invent with AC electricity. He was not interested in AC electricity. All of his instruments were instruments that were radiant energy in composition. They were radiant energy or scalar energy instruments.
Yeah.
And he alluded to that on many occasions. He called it non-physical science. And he referred to the sun frequently, how he could switch on the sun or switch off the sun. And a lot of people they just don't
what
get it.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
I didn't get it.
So what is the best power plant that you know of? And don't say it's a coal factory. It's not the nuclear reactor.
It's the
I'm
sun.
not being condescending by saying these
Right.
things. The best power plant, the most efficient power plant that I know of is the sun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It powers the entire planet with the trees that grow from the solar energy. Every single plant is equipped with no, what's that word? What's that word? Not
The
hypo.
process of photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. Thank you so much. Yes, the process of photosynthesis, and it's a powerful form of energy because we are dependent on that photosynthesis for our foods and our products.
Yes.
What has been one of the most challenging aspects of working with scalar energy, and how did you navigate through it?
I had to study the difference between electricity and scalar energy. And there's a significant difference. Now, there are some parallels, there are some relative comparisons, but nonetheless, you have to be willing to say this is a new science and you cannot try to overlay electrical theory with scalar theory. It never works. And this is why so many scientists today do not advance in this field. Now, what am I getting at? Tesla was able to entertain two paradigms, scalar energy, radiant energy, and AC electricity. Other scientists, such as Einstein, never quite understood scalar energy action. Apparently, he called it spooky action at a distance. He observed action, but he cannot describe that. He cannot, if you will, fit that into his electromagnetic wheelhouse. It wasn't electromagnetic in character.
Yeah.
I give Tesla all the credit in the world. He mastered both sciences. So if we're looking at academia today, those of you in academia, good for you. You've studied electrical theory and you're brilliant electrical engineers, but that doesn't mean you understand scalar energy.
So how can we, let's say, introduce scalar energy into the education system? How could, because I think that would enable and empower the students that are going to basically contribute into this world that we live in, and hopefully making it better.
Yeah, very good. One podcast at a time, one lecture at a time. Tesla would have meetings with the press. Now, Tesla obviously did not have podcasts available, or there was no social media at that time. And he presented his work. And those who were astute caught on to what he was doing. Okay, many people started to realize that this tower in Long Island, this motionless tower that produced prodigious amount of energy, it wasn't electricity. So we're starting, you have to start at ground zero once again, go back to Tesla.
Right.
I would advocate that people read Tesla's notes, look at his results, and then start presenting that within the framework of scalar energy, which is not electricity, and then you build therefrom. It's a new science. We need new theories.
And we have so much information to go back on, luckily, with the notes that Tesla left behind. On your research and in your work with the Tesla, in your work with the scalar energy, what was some of the breakthroughs or an aha moment?
I was in my lab one day working with the energy, and just to describe, I have a metal bar that I suspend over the instrument, I'm performing certain types of work function.
Mhm.
Anyway, I touched one end of the metal bar and I had an electrical shock. Now, what's the point?
Mhm.
The scalar energy came up and influenced the bar. It degraded into electricity. On the end of the bar, it was an electrical current. When I touched the end of that bar, I got a shock.
Interesting.
That proved to me that a scalar energy instrument, although it can emit a scalar wave in this world, the Earth, it always degrades into electricity.
Mm.
And with that experience, and I performed other experiments, in this world, scalar energy usually degrades into electromagnetic energy. This is why if you have a scalar energy instrument, you have to be able to send the energy without attenuation, and you can, and you have to be able to target it to a person, an animal, or a plant, and allow that energy to act exclusively in the scalar realm. You cannot introduce scalar energy into the electromagnetic realm. It will always degrade into electricity, which is an inferior energy. So for the sake of this conversation, just stick to scalar energy. That's it. Just stick to scalar energy.
I love it. All right. Are there any ethical considerations in applying scalar energy, particularly in its accessibility or effects on society?
Yeah. Now, let me be clear. When I work with this energy, I work with photographs of people. I could work with my photograph, or I could work with a collage. Today, I received a family collage of probably 9 or 10 photographs.
Yeah.
Or I could walk into a football stadium and take a photograph of 60,000 people and then treat them. Now, I've never done that. I've never walked into a football stadium and treated 60,000 people. So where are we going with this? Mark my word, great technology must be matched, must coincide with great morality. Technology and morality have to be matched, traveling partners. This is a very powerful instrument. I consider this the modern day equivalent of the Ark of the Covenant. And with great technology comes great responsibility.
Yes.
As an ethical matter, you've got to be right with God. If you're working with this instrument, there you go. If you're working with this instrument, you better be in a line. You better be following God's instructions. I believe I am.
Yeah.
And that's why God gave me this wisdom.
That's so powerful. Now, as we making sure that we are in alignment with God and God's message and morality, and keeping that heart of openness and of helping the world, how do you envision scalar energy evolving in the next decade, especially concerning the global energy needs?
Yeah. Somebody will have to invent a scalar energy instrument that can illuminate a building at a distance. Okay? I'm going to try and do that. And with God's wisdom, I will succeed. If I can illuminate a building at a distance without wires, without a substation, without transformers, then I've proven not only free energy, but the distribution, the ease and the comfort of distribution. Now, if we can have free energy without an expensive infrastructure, then we solve the energy crisis.
Yeah.
Follow me? I don't want to have to build telephone poles. I don't want transformers. Cell phone towers are not necessary. I don't have $10 million to place a satellite in orbit. No.
Sure.
No, we have to do this inexpensively.
Although that's a really interesting idea. SpaceX already launched about 15,000 to 2,000 satellites in space to provide the satellite internet.
Yeah.
What if they could somehow be powered by scalar energy?
That's what I envision. Thank you. That's what I envision. Tesla's tower in Colorado Springs, he had 2 towers, and he had another tower in Long Island, New York. There were no satellites. Now, this is back in the turn of the century, over 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, what's the point? If you could use this energy, scalar energy, without an infrastructure, without satellites, without any transponder, etc. So you just deliver the energy from the instrument to the intended target. You save trillions of dollars in infrastructure. I know there's some satellites that cost as much as $300 million. By the way, I don't have $300 million.
Sure.
So what's the point? If my work comes to fruition, we're going to make satellites obsolete. We're going to make substations, transformers obsolete. You don't need an infrastructure. The universe is the infrastructure. The universe pre-exists. This instrument proves it.
I love this. There's a story in the Quran where Prophet Muhammad, he traveled to meet God and the other prophets. I don't know if you've heard of the story, but he traveled on an animal that mimics like a Pegasus, but it was instantaneous because when he returned, his bed was still warm. So it was almost like time travel, but then also traveling in a totally different realm. And so the thing is, we know so little about what the world is about, right? And what we're intended here to do is to do one thing, is just to worship God and believe that he put us here for a test, for teaching people what we know best. And I think you've done an amazing job doing that with the scalar energy. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'll mention this. I frequently treat people around the world through their photographs. So what's the point? People bilocate to my laboratory. Okay? My photograph is me. What am I getting at? They time travel to my laboratory.
Yes.
I don't care if you live in Denmark or Singapore. You send me your photograph, you're bilocating to my laboratory. Now, in the quantum realm, scalar energy realm, bilocation is normal. In other words, in the electromagnetic realm, I can only be in one place at one time. In the scalar realm, in the quantum realm, I can be in a million places simultaneously. If I have a million photographs and place those million photographs in a million different scalar energy instruments, I multi-locate to a million points simultaneously.
What you're telling me is how God sees everybody. Because going back to the Quran, says, I know what you've done. I know what you're going to do. And I know where you came from, because he created all those things. Let's switch gears a little bit. How has working with scalar energy shaped your perspective towards energy consumption and conservation on a personal level?
I look at energy consumption, I say to myself, it costs there's not only a monetary cost, but there's a social cost to it. Yes, there's pollution, but there's also, look at the labor involved. If you had to work in a coal mine, that's labor. Okay? If you have, it's dangerous when you're working with high electricity on electrical lines. All of this is it's not only labor intensive, but it's dangerous and it pollutes. We need a better way. Why would Nikola Tesla introduce AC electricity and then later in his career say, we don't need AC electricity anymore. We don't need telephone wires. We don't need substations. You don't need a motor. And Tesla would have a motionless, a tower without any moving parts. What's the point here? The father of AC electricity said, look, what I've done is admirable, and it is, but there's a better way. And Tesla wanted to give us the better way.
Yeah, that's so powerful. All right, let's focus on the aspiring engineers. What advice would you give them in specializing in scalar energy?
Read Tesla. And there's another inventor, if you can get any information, Hieronymus. Those two men are, if you will, the pillars of scalar energy today, because we know about them. At least something's been carried on. Another inventor by the name of Moray, Thomas Moray. Now, you have to piece it together, and it's painstaking. If you want to be on the ground floor level of a science, this is it. But don't expect a paycheck, and don't expect public acclaim, because it's not coming. It's not coming. You're going to set the stage for the next generation. This generation has not gotten it. Over the past 100 years, we barely grasped this.
Yeah. I love it. I love it, man. This is so powerful. This is really mind blowing to me because it's connecting me with so many different thoughts around quantum physics, quantum mechanics, quantum entanglement. I think scalar energy is completely quantum based on what I've heard so far.
Yeah, it's non-physical. Now consider this. If I can project this energy anywhere in the world by way of a photograph, what are we speaking about? That's thought. It's parallel to thought. Scalar energy is thought or intention.
Yeah.
And thought can pass from one end of the universe to the other end, so to speak, in a flash. So this is thought energy. This is intention. This is non-physical science. This is why if you've studied the earth sciences or electrical engineering, you're always working with physical matter. Welcome to scalar energy, which is thought, non-physical. If you can grasp the fact that the information system of the universe is all non-physical consciousness, the mind of God, you will succeed. If you're trying to ascertain an element, hydrogen, oxygen, or copper, forget it. It's none of those.
Yeah.
No.
All right. How does your work with scalar energy influence your lifestyle, hobbies, or daily habits?
This gives me a perspective on reality. Truth is reality. Reality is truth. And when I work with this energy, I see the world in a different light. I guess the pun intended. And I see the great potential here. I see what technology can do to advance mankind. So this is my driving force. When I get up in the morning, I say to myself, in some way, I'm going to contribute to the world. And my work eventually will be recognized, and somebody then will stand upon my shoulders and then advance this. That's the key. You have to keep going. You have to believe in God, believe in yourself. And I see how my work is improving the world condition today and will do it really in an immeasurable fashion later in my life.
That's so beautiful, man. Thank you so much. Now, since this is hacks and hobbies, I'm going to ask some questions around hobbies. Do you engage in any hobbies or activities that provide a mental break from the technicalities and intense focus?
Yeah, it's called grandchildren. That's my outlet, grandchildren, and spending time on weekends, even if it's just a dinner. That's the mental break that I need. And you're right, everybody should have a mental break. I do have a good prayer life. I think I have a good prayer life. And I'll mention this, and I don't take this the wrong way. I try not to spend too much time in front of the television or too much time wasting on social media. That's a drain.
Sure thing. All right, let's take a quick break. And when we get back, you can share 3 hacks that people can do to come closer with scalar energy and how they can improve their lives.
Are you ready to amplify your business? SBI Pro is your gateway to elevate your entrepreneurial journey, offering cutting-edge education, immersive training, and interactive collaborations. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, SBI Pro is the community for you, providing you access to professional networking and advice to accelerate your growth. To join, head on over to hacksandhobbies.com/SBI Pro. Join SBI Pro and transform your unique journey into a success story. Again, head on over to hacksandhobbies.com/SBI Pro.
Hey guys, welcome back to the episode. We've been talking with Tom Paladino, leading the charge in the scalar energy space. He's worked with hundreds and thousands of people in making their lives better. And he's got 3 hacks to share with us on how scalar energy can change your life.
Okay. Hack number 1 is your mind. Hack number 2 is your heart. What am I getting at? Remember, I mentioned that thought is scalar energy. Why don't you hack your mind, your thoughts, and hack your emotions? Now, consider this, the mind. How is it that we're creative? Why can we think? Why can we extrapolate? How can we project? How can we compute? How do we memorize? All of that is a scalar wave. It's not electricity, it's a scalar wave. Scalar energy will, if you will, deliver intelligence, information. So hack your mind because it's a scalar device. It's a scalar vessel. Now, just think positive thoughts, which is a scalar wave. Now, you could be negative. You could be, if you will, downtrodden. That's also a scalar wave, but that's not going to help you. So hack your mind, which is scalar thinking, and hack your heart, your emotions. What gives rise to the circadian rhythm? Why does our heart beat? Where do we get the information? There has to be some type of information system to cause our heart to pump, to regulate our heart. What is that regulator? Where are we getting that information? It's a scalar wave. So scalar energy allows us to think and feel. Scalar energy gives our brain its function and our heart its function. Now consider that.
Wow.
We are scalar energy beings. We receive energy information from God for our mind and our heart. So the way we think, the way we feel can be controlled, regulated. We have to be in alignment. You have to do God's will, so to speak. Those are two great hacks.
I absolutely love them.
I'll give you, for instance, I always have goals in the morning, goals, objectives, and I meet those goals. They're realistic, you know. And why do I do that? That keeps me on the beaten path. I don't fight windmills. I'm not Don Quixote. I have purpose. It's meaningful. I have goals. And when people have goals and they have those projections and they meet those, those are the guideposts that we need in life.
Yeah.
Now, again, the way you hack your mind and hack your emotions, if you can control your mind and your emotions, you will have a productive day, a productive week, a productive month, a productive life.
Man, that's so powerful because that's something that I've been practicing for the past few weeks, where I take time out to read the Quran from God's book and making that connection with God. I'm reading your words that you've written and sent through Angel Gabriel to be in the Quran, right? I'm making that connection through a connection that we cannot see. And I think that's what scalar energy, as you're mentioning, it's one of the ways.
How does God communicate with us? He doesn't have a computer. He doesn't have a cell phone. God doesn't communicate with us by social media, by light. Okay? If you read the Bible, God said, light be made. Why? It's fundamental. What does God work with? Computers? No, they're not fundamental. God communicates through light, through energy. Light energy is immutable. Why? God's immutable. So the tool that God uses is an immutable tool, a tool that never fails. Light energy never fails. That's what I like about my work.
That's so beautiful.
It's immutable. Light never makes a mistake. As long as I work with this appropriately, I never make a mistake.
Oh my God, that's so powerful. All right. If there's one takeaway you'd like our listeners to have regarding scalar energy and its potential, what would it be?
If I can do it with an instrument, you can do it with your mind and your heart. You don't need a laboratory. Your mind functions by scalar waves. Trust me. Your heart, your emotions function by scalar waves. What allows us to project an emotion? It's scalar energy, scalar intelligence, or what some people might call consciousness. So your conscious mind, your conscious feelings, that's the key to your life. That's the key. If you unite with God, that's God's will. I strongly suggest whatever your faith is, you unite with God.
Amen, man. Thank you so much. All right, let's jump into the rapid fire questions and wrap up the podcast. What is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
Maybe sailing. I just don't have time, but I like the water. I've never had time. Go on. Yeah.
I love it. And number 2, what did you want to be when you were a child?
So many things. At one time, and I want the audience to chuckle, I wanted to be an astronaut because I thought it was just keen, super keen to go to outer space and to be in outside the Earth's orbit. This is, I'm 62 years of age, so this is when we were experimenting with the Apollo mission. And I thought that was just incredible. It's still incredible to me, but that captured my imagination.
I love that. Number 3, what is your favorite movie or television show?
I have so many, and you could learn so much from television shows. As a young kid, I liked Gone with the Wind. Even though it has cinematic excellence, it tells a story. It shows the travesty of war.
Yeah.
And it shows the travesty of racism, of unrestrained capitalism. So
Yeah.
there's so many shows. And by the way, as a kid, I really enjoyed The Wizard of Oz because it was fanciful to me. Later in life, I realized that's an allegory for, if you will, another class struggle that we're up against.
That's so interesting. We're going to have to dig deep into that one on another episode. Number 4, what movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
I'd love to be a cast member of any Tesla film. His story is fascinating. Now, keep in mind, if energy is fundamental, it is. And Tesla discovered the fundament of the universe, scalar energy, what he called radiant energy. His inventions are preeminent. Okay, that doesn't in any way disparage any other scientist. But when the king of creation is energy, scalar energy in particular. So if you want to be at the top of all invention, of all discovery, it's energy.
Man, that's so powerful. Okay, last question. Actually, 2 more questions. Who is your favorite superhero?
God, but in this world, I look up to many scientists and many religious people because they walk the walk.
Yes.
It's not easy. We have a world where there's a lot of strange ideas, but when you're true to your calling of scientists and religious people, that's what I like.
Man, that's really beautiful. And what movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it? Oh, you already answered that question. Sorry. Last question. If you were a board game, what would it be?
Monopoly, but I want it to be a board game in which everybody would prosper and you could not hoard. I'm really against any type of monopoly because I see what it's done to the world. And even if God gives you the wisdom or the wherewithal or the power, the might to control an industry or control a specific sector of the economy, you should not do that. Any really good scientist should be driven by altruism. That's what Tesla, that's why he was so special.
I agree.
He gave away his inventions. We cannot live on this dog-eat-dog system anymore. This system, let's face it, the new technology that's coming out will replace many jobs, will make many jobs, many economies, or many, let's say, technologies obsolete. So how do you fill the void? You're going to have to figure out, devise a system where everybody wins. This cannot be predatory.
No.
If we have predatory economy, our world will self-implode.
I totally agree. Now, question around the life on this earth. We are put here. Our life is essentially a test. If you read the story of Adam, right? He was born, he was brought to life in heaven, right? We were meant to live in heaven for eternity. Yeah. But then he was put to a test and he failed the test. So then God put him on earth along with Eve. And we are essentially here to live out, worship, and pass that test. And that test, our eternal life is going back into that scalar energy. And there's something that is in the Quran talking about these translucent beings. Like when we are recreated and put into these translucent beings who are towering over us, essentially is what we will live as eternal beings.
Adam and Eve were created in a perfect environment. The world initially was scalar energy.
Mm-hmm.
Adam and Eve had dominion over nature because they possessed scalar energy. And when they fell from grace, they were denuded of light and they realized that they were naked. So if you read the Bible carefully, Adam and Eve were perfect. To have dominion over nature, you have to have control over scalar energy. They lost that gift. They lost that supernatural character. They became naked because they no longer were clothed in that translucent light. And
That's
we were
really
reduced
powerful.
from the scalar realm to the electromagnetic realm.
So tell me this. Prophet Solomon, he had the control over speaking to all of the animals. I'm sure he was using some kind of energy, some kind of language there.
Can you repeat that? We were interrupted. We had a bad
Yeah, talking about Prophet Solomon, who had the command over all of the animal beings and whatnot.
Yeah. Why would God have given such great command thousands of years ago?
Yeah.
Abraham was the father of many generations. Adam and Eve, if you believe in the biblical story, were the first parents.
Yes,
That's a tremendous responsibility. God had to pick somebody. You have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
If you believe in the Christian version that there was a Noah's Ark and Noah and 8 people were saved from the flood, that's a tremendous responsibility to repopulate the world.
Yeah.
All of this is incredible to me. I come from a Christian background.
Yeah.
So whatever your faith is, there are those times in human history where somebody has to step up to the plate, so to speak.
Yeah. And this was a very fun conversation. Thank you so much for bringing the wisdom, bringing Scalar Energy to the podcast, and super excited for our audience to check out scalarlight.com, which is your site. And as an audience of this podcast and listening to Tom Paladino here, he's giving you 15 days of free sessions. Tell us more about this, Tom.
You're going to visit scalarlight.com. Now, you email a photograph. The age of the photograph does not matter. You can send in your photograph or your family photographs also. And for 15 days, we'll balance your chakras. I showed you that phenomenon with the light bulb. We'll download nutrients into your quantum field. And we also can identify microbes, germs, and eradicate them. So sign up the website. Anybody in the world is entitled to 15 days of free sessions.
Nice.
You try it. You decide the veracity of Tesla technology.
Amen, man. Thank you so much again. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the episode. Thanks so much for listening to our guest on this episode. Please send me an email at junaid@hacksandhobbies.com to tell me what you loved about our guest today. You could find links mentioned in this episode on the hacksandhobbies.com website.